Good morning and welcome to today's episode of Coffee with Bobbi. Today I'm having coffee with Jackson Smith. Jackson is the owner of Caribbean Coastal Fitness, which provides personal training and physical therapy in multiple locations in Costa Rica, from the beach, the pool, and 2 different studios. His workouts are one-on-one and not your ordinary classes to make sure that you prevent injuries, injury recovery, as well as getting into great shape. He's based in Puerto Viejo, Costa Rica. So welcome to the show, Jackson. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's such a nice surprise seeing you on here. I actually met Jackson a year and a half ago at his wedding. So it was super fun, and I'm glad to have you reconnect, to have you back, and hopefully soon we can end up in Costa Rica.
Yes, you need to get back down here for a little visit.
Yes, it's been way too long for us here. What's been happening in your world lately?
Well, the last year was pretty crazy, as it was for everyone. This town went on complete lockdown, and this country is based off of tourism. So it was pretty quiet. It was cool out here because for the first month or so, with no traffic, no tourists, the wildlife actually came about. I mean, we're in the jungle, we see wildlife all the time, but we saw a lot more of it, and a lot more wildlife that we haven't seen before in this area. So it was kind of cool to see all the animals come out with less people in the town. A lot of businesses, like the restaurants, suffered. A few of them closed down, but there was still all of us that lived here, whether it was expats, people from any other countries, and the locals here. So we still kind of supported each other. It was very interesting to be here and also to talk to friends and family throughout the world and back in the States, because every country is doing something different.
Right.
Different regulations, different lockdown, depending on how long it took. So, but it's been fun. I was very glad to be here within the last year. So it's been nice. I've been able to keep the business going. Most of my business is not based off of tourism. So I was able to continue workouts and physical therapy with a lot of clients. And pretty much since the borders have opened completely, which was November 1st, the town has picked back up. And so we've all just kind of been getting back in the new swing of things.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that it's picking back up and everybody's sort of in this rebound phase down there, because I've lived in tourism towns before, from Barcelona to Santa Barbara. And when it's dead season, it's dead. It's like a ghost town, and you're like, where's the people? Where's everything? And I remember one time in Santa Barbara when it was like ghost town, dead season, and it was rainy and like fire season out there in California. And like one of my friends and I ended up wanting to hang out with another friend who was a bartender, and we painted at the bar. Like there was nobody in the bar and we're just painting cards. But that's how dead it can get. So hearing that it's on the rebound is definitely necessary for everybody in Puerto Viejo, because everybody's got some business and something to contribute to the community.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the tourism from, a lot of people from the capital, San Jose, have come down here every weekend, and that's been going on for months. But especially when they open up the borders, it's really kind of, I guess, saved a lot of the economy here, which has been good.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about like what's happening in the workouts and how you're managing health and wellness for both yourself and your clients during this time.
Well, I have about, right now, since we've been getting started back up, I have about 20 clients at this moment. Half are probably for personal training, just wanting to get in the best shape they can possibly get in. The other half is physical therapy, whether they've had recent surgeries, injuries. And so I've been staying busy with that. On top of me staying in shape, I always try to stay in the best shape as possible. My uncle, who is a doctor, he said once, it's not good to be an unhealthy person and trying to tell everyone else to be healthy. So you have to set good examples. And so that's just what I try to do with my wellness and staying healthy. it's easier to convince people. It's easier to push them. It's easier for them to understand and trust you with what you're doing, as long as you're treating your body the right way with diet, with exercise. Even just simple stretching in the morning can help a lot. And so that's kind of, I have my own style for workouts, tons of different styles, but specifically, I try to teach people injury prevention. So I don't hit one specific muscle, I hit all the different muscles. Your body has many different ones, many different bones. So it's important to strengthen all of them. And in order to take that little stumble, you could prevent yourself from falling. You could catch yourself, or if you do fall, you might not have that injury as to where if your muscles in that area were weak. Injury recovery, obviously that's more of the physical therapy. A lot of my clients do both. They come in for a knee and they do physical therapy for their knee. And once the knee starts improving, to mix up the workout, they start doing upper body workouts along with physical therapy for the knee. So it's always important to switch up the workouts, in my opinion, to confuse the muscles. And that way you can always increase your improvement. And it's always good to switch up the workouts, because then the clients, it's always something new for them every time. So
For
that's kind of
sure.
my style.
For sure. I love that, because here, there's always so many different camps. Like, I'm huge on working out and I mix it up, whether it's doing heavier lifting or hit, or, taking time to like back off of some of that and incorporate spinning or running, just depending on the season. And here it's like, well, either you're in like the CrossFit lane or the hit lane, or I'm going to do heavy lifting, and I can't mix and match. And then your muscles get fatigued, and that's where you start to see the injuries, right?
Right. Well, you can see injuries, but also if you're doing the same thing and not changing it up, that's when we call it you plateau, and you can't find improvement. You're looking for the muscles, you're looking to feel better, and you're pretty much the same. So if you mix it up, you're always changing it up and you're always able to increase the improvement.
And how do you sort of mix it up? Because I know you've got the beach workouts, you've got pools for people to do swimming, and probably therapy in that as well, and your different studios. What's some of your favorite ways to like keep adding that variety, so people aren't like, I got to go back and see Jackson again today?
Well, the two studios I work at, I have plenty of weights, plenty of bands. Um, I also teach a lot of body weight stuff. So that way, if a client is on their own and they want to do a workout, all they need is themselves. They've learned a lot of stretches and exercises from me, the proper form, how to do it. And so I mix it up a lot in the studio. On the beach, it's kind of like a boot camp workout. It's all body weight, but it's a lot more intense, a lot more cardio, and you're usually pretty burnt out at the end of those workouts. At the pool, it's mostly for physical therapy. That's my number one suggestion. If you're injured for any what reason, in the pool, there's no gravity involved. So you're able to do movements a lot more comfortable, a lot more easier. And you can just strengthen the muscles a lot more because you have the resistance from the water. And there's a few clients that do the pool that are in great shape and they just want a different kind of workout. And so you can, from swimming to all sorts of leg exercises, you can really get a good workout in the pool. And it's good to have multiple locations. I do the pool 1 day a week. I'm at one studio out near the beach 3 days a week, another studio up in the jungle 2 days a week, and then I'm at the beach 4 days a week in the afternoons.
That sounds absolutely amazing. Like, I've just been going to the gym lately, and I'm like, ooh, it's workout in the jungle again, to do beach workouts. Like, I'm booking a flight. I'm coming down. We're going to work out here soon together, Jackson. But with the lockdowns and everything here, it's definitely easing up here in the States. I know different states are opening up at different paces, but there's still, I've noticed in the gyms, you've got the people who always have been at the gyms, and then others who are like, I don't know if I'm ready to get back into it. What are some of the key body weight exercises that you recommend to people? Because there's numerous things that you can do in your own house today without having extra equipment needed.
Absolutely. There's a lot of exercises for the legs you can do. From squats and lunges, I do all those exercises without weight in the first place, even if you're at the studio with me. A lot of hip flexors, and you can also do a lot of physical therapy. You can do a lot of exercises just laying in your bed or sitting in a chair. Tons of exercises and stretches. And that's what I show my clients. I say, if you're having that lazy day and you feel like just doing a little stretching, but not even getting out of bed, I show them as much stuff as I can for that. Other people, if their knee's injured and they need crutches to get around, I show them all the stretches and exercises that they can do just sitting in a chair. So they don't have to worry about injuring themselves. If they're doing any more intense workouts, that's when I tell them to kind of wait for our sessions. So they can have more of a spotter. Arms, there's plenty of arm exercises. And if you got a mat and you get on the floor, you can do tons of push-ups, tons of ab exercises. I always recommend planks for anyone of all ages. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do. And like you said, I mean, the list just goes on. And once you start adding weights and bands and you have, a pool or a beach or something where there's even more room and more chances to get fit. I mean,
a backyard.
Yard. Like just need a backyard.
Yeah. Grassy area, driveway,
garage, anything that gives you enough space to get the workout in.
Yeah, we're not all as lucky, Jackson, to have a beach in our backyard across the street.
I am pretty blessed. I live on the beach, so the beach workouts, I just tell the clients to show up at the house and then we walk right out there. One of the studios it's across the street from the beach, but it's high up, so you just stare at the beach the whole time. It's all open, so nothing's closed in. It's just open airflow. And then the other studio that I just started at is just down the street, and her property, you don't see the beach, but she's done a beautiful job with making a great garden, tons of plants, and you just look at monkeys and toucans and sloths the whole time you work out, basically.
I love it. So for those of you who have been on Peloton machines or the Nordic treadmills and you're just like, oh, transport me to Costa Rican jungles, this is real life for Jackson right here. There's no animation, no CGI, no one clip, National Geographic Planet Earth. This is what really happens there. And I can honestly say from the times that I've spent there and just like beach runs and stuff, it's pure solitude.
Yes.
And yes. I feel like that also has to deal with like health and wellness as well, as if you can find that solitude and less stressful living, then it also carries over into health.
Absolutely. And the fact that it's summer year round here, most people are riding bikes or walking down the street, so you're staying active that way. And with it not being so cold, I mean, you always have options outdoors, and whatever you find that works for you, I feel like you could find here.
Definitely. And it's, like I said, it's pure bliss out there. What's some of your favorite things? Because how many years have you been in Costa Rica now?
This June will be 10 years for me.
Oh, that's incredible. What's some of your favorite things about living there that, some people are like, I don't know if I could live abroad. What would you say?
I really enjoy, just because there's so many different tourists here, and there's also the people that live here. They're from all over the world. So you can walk down the street and pass 5 different groups of people and you hear 5 different languages. That a lot of people say this is the town where you can stay here, but still travel the world, just because you're meeting people from all over. And once you start talking to them, you can find out about their hometown. And you're not just learning about a capital city in the country. You're learning about another small town or somewhere on the coast or in the mountains that you never even heard of. And there's lots of things I love about here, but I would say that's one of my number one favorites, is just meeting people from all over. If you go to a public place, like a restaurant or something, you're going to meet someone new from somewhere that you haven't heard of before, or, that has a story that you never even thought of. And so it's pretty cool. I do enjoy that. The expats down here are of all ages. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And one of my favorite things that I remember from like my first day down there, and Matt was like, "You're gonna meet a lot of people. You're gonna meet a lot of people. Just get ready." And I, being in events, I meet tons of people every day, and that's what I love, is connecting with people and learning stories. But the instantaneous sense of community in Puerto
Yes.
Viejo is like this. You walk into town, and I literally met 100 people on my first day there. And
That doesn't surprise me one bit.
right. And granted, like, everybody was in town for your
Yes.
wedding, but it was just that fact of like, everybody's so friendly, everybody wants to genuinely connect, and it's not the same feeling of, I'm so busy, I've got this to post on my phone, I've got work to do, but people genuinely want to learn about you and create the sense of community that is there.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of us that live, well, that have moved down here, that's what we were looking for, the stress-free or less stress life. But yeah, all of us that moved here, we didn't move here with our parents or our brothers and sisters. And so if something happens to you, it's this community that takes care of you. If you have to go to the hospital, if you have something going on with your house, or you're building this, or anything, the problems that you have, the people down here are the ones that are taking care of you. And that's how it's always been for me. And there's plenty of people here that I know that, I'd give them the shirt off my back immediately. And that's just kind of the vibe here, is that everyone takes care of everybody.
It's I recently was talking about this. It's like the whole village. We always say, like, we need the village. The village is here. And that's what it is there. I know in different communities in different cities, you're more like, oh, I've got my close friends and that's it, in your
Right.
little bubble. But when you really do have that sense of the village of like, oh, something's wrong with my house and I don't know how it's going to get fixed. And you can walk down the street and tell somebody and then instantly have 5 people helping you out.
Absolutely.
That,
Someone knows someone, like, oh, I can't do that, but my buddy or my cousin or whoever, and a quick phone call away, and you have help just like that.
yeah, it's amazing. I grew up in a small town, so I can relate to that, but it's not on that same level. And that's one of the things that I miss, like wherever I travel and wherever I decide to move to, it's like it needs to have this sense of community in it.
Absolutely. The support is real big down here. And even with the local community, and like I said, anybody that's moved here from another country, it's like once you decide to live here, you kind of got to accept that.
Yeah, it's like it's part of it. And if you don't like it, then leave.
Right. And this town is definitely, I mean, just with anywhere traveling to, it's not meant for everybody to live here. It's a great place to visit, obviously, but we have our perks and we have our ups and downs, but I kind of like the ups a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so happy that you found it here. What was the transition like for you getting into the fitness industry down there?
So this is what I studied in college, and I worked in physical therapy before I came here. And when I decided to live here, the only chance I had to stay was to bartend. So working in restaurants and bars was completely new for me. I learned how to do everything down here, but of course, working at a bar restaurant down here is a little bit different than doing it back in the States. So I did that for about 6 years. And then 3 years ago, I started, well, the studio I work out in near the beach, um, that guy built the studio and it was going to be a multi-purpose studio, but he didn't know what to use it for. So then he offered, hey, maybe you should start doing some fitness stuff up there. And months later, he was still serious about it. I did a few classes, a few one-on-ones, and I ended up really, really enjoying it. And after about a year and a half, 2 years, I was done with bartending completely because this was my full income. And it's just been really cool because half of my clients throughout the time I've been here have been friends that I've known here the whole time. And they're also seeing me on a different side. They're not seeing me behind the bar.
Mm-hmm.
They're seeing me as a fitness instructor. And so it's been cool to get to hang out with a lot of friends on a different level, teaching them stuff, getting them healthier. And then on top of that, the other half of my clients I didn't know before. So I've gotten to meet a lot more people. So that's been very interesting, just kind of getting this whole thing set up for the last few years.
And finding that balance, of it's a transition from like restaurant bartending life into fitness. And when friends and, new clients see you in this new light of from, oh, Jackson is the guy who worked at the restaurant, to Jackson's now my trainer. And
Right.
it puts that shift in both your mind and their mind, of the priority of health and wellness, which I'm sure you had before you had that transition, but it's another mindset transition for people as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I still had it the whole time that I worked in the restaurant and the bars. But, if you're working full time in a bar or restaurant, that's pretty much what's on your mind for work. That's what you're focused on 100%. Um, and it's just been good for the transition to, get into a more, not even more healthy life, but a more life of teaching other people to be healthy, showing them the right way and not the wrong way, to do certain exercises. And, a lot of people that had never worked out before, but were friends of mine, decided to start working out just because they knew me. Because a lot of people going to a personal trainer feel very uncomfortable. Um, it's someone's body and it's their own movements, and so that not everyone feels completely okay with having someone else watch them work out and correcting them. So a lot of people, that were 30, 40 years old, had never worked out in their lives, have now started, doing that with me. And a lot of them have still stuck with me. I've had a few clients that started the first month, and they're still working out with me.
That's incredible. And that's a true testament to you as well. And, how you embody this. And it's truly is your passion, because I can tell it instantly from talking with you and chatting with you. It's like working out, getting healthy, getting others to be healthy, and showing people how to do it in a way that is sustainable. And it's not like you're going to be on the tabloids saying lose 20 pounds in 5 days, because
No.
that's not a sustainable option for anybody. And drink and detox tea all day. And yeah, it's not going to work for anybody.
Right. And I try to make it as fun as I can. I tell everyone that you can't rush to do anything. It's all a gradual process, whether you're trying to get in shape or whether you're just recovering from an injury. But you got to make it as fun as you can. And like I said, those people that have worked out with me for 3 years have never repeated a single workout. It's always been different. And I organize everything. I mean, after this session with you today, I'm going to be getting on my phone and organizing everyone's workouts for the day.
It, that like just astounds me, because I've worked out for years. I've had trainers. I've, worked out with my brother recently, who's a former cop. Every day sort of changes, but you're still doing the same sort of exercises. So if you could say that you've never given a client the same workout, like that just blows my mind. Granted, there are like thousands and thousands of different exercises out there and putting them together. But anybody who's listening to this and going, never given somebody the same workout before, they're like, where's Jackson? How can I get in touch with him? Because it is something that's totally different that nobody else is doing.
Well, that's what, like I said, my own style. And I didn't want to copy anybody else's. I've obviously trained with lots and lots of people throughout my life with sports and even down here. And so I kind of tell the clients what I do. I take what I like, the exercises, and I kind of incorporate it into my own workouts. And that's what I tell my clients. I say, the exercise that you really hate, sorry, you got to do some of them when you're with me, but the other ones, find what you like. And then when you're doing the workouts on your own, it's a little bit more motivational to do the workout on your own.
And it goes through those points where, one of my least favorite days when I'm lifting is back day. But everybody has those days where it's like, yeah, it's not my favorite, but I still got to know I've got to do the exercises to make
Absolutely.
the difference. And when you can incorporate that in a fun manner and still push through it, that's where you start to see the change.
Right. And making it fun is important, and being professional and showing them the correct form is important. But when they walk up to the studios, and they see the beach and they see the beautiful gardens with all the animals, that's kind of a selling point as well. So it helps, but it also helps the client become more relaxed. They enjoy coming to the locations. So that's a big help. You're not just staring at a wall the whole time.
Right. And you're getting that vitamin D, you're hearing the waves crash outside, you're connecting with nature. And you're right. It's like instantaneous. It's like you walk into a spa, but
Right.
today's spa is a workout with Jackson.
Basically something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like whatever stresses that you had before, whether it was conversations with family or work or, something that was bothering you. And then you're like, oh man, I've got to go meet Jackson. And you're sort of in that rush state. And then you're like, wait a second, let me take a deep breath. Like the jungle's right here. I'm listening to the toucans. I see a sloth on my way.
Right.
Like, let's just take a deep breath. Let's relax and then get to work.
Yes. And on making it fun, I mean, I work the clients hard, but I'm not in your face yelling, anything like that. They're tough workouts, but it's still laid back. And I'm all about telling clients, hey, whenever you need a break, get some water. I'm never going to force you to do anything that you can't do. So that's just important to me, is just kind of learning the client and then working with them to the best for their life and their situation. The first week that you start with me, even if you're in great shape with no injuries, a first week is just, you're doing basic, easy exercises. And all I'm doing is just taking notes. So I see where your strengths and weaknesses are. And then we just kind of climb and just go from there.
And that is key. A lot of people are like, well, I've worked out for years. I've got this. I know how to do this. But there's always little instances of where like form can be corrected, or maybe you've learned something and you've like sort of cheated your way through an exercise to
Exactly.
compensate for different muscles and things that aren't your strengths. And when you can just sit back and watch somebody and then take those notes, it makes so much of a difference when you're like, now let's perfect this a little bit more.
Absolutely. Because there's so many exercises that you might see people in the gym doing, and they're really, they're building muscle right now, but maybe they don't know it. But with the exercise, maybe they're damaging their shoulder and in 20 years, maybe they're going to start having shoulder problems. So I focus on the present, but also the future. So I want to correct people so they're not, if they're building muscle, but I don't want them to damage anything, 10, 20 years down the road. I want them to do it correctly the whole time.
So what would you tell somebody if they're listening to this or watching this right now and saying, I've been working out, or I want to start working out? Where's that step that I need to go? Maybe they're not going to be in Puerto Viejo, Costa Rica, but where is that step that they need to take to like find out what's going to work and what's going to prevent them from injuries?
I always say, my sessions are one-on-one, but a lot of my clients, they say, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for you. So to have someone push you is always good. You don't have to hire a personal trainer. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it's getting a workout buddy. When I go training sometimes in the morning here, I try to work out with someone who is stronger and better in shape than I am. And that person pushes you to just get better and just to get on their level. Now, you don't want someone that's on a completely different level as you, someone are roughly around the same. But then that way, those mornings that you wake up and I don't feel like working out, well, your friend's calling you saying, we have to go today. So I always say to get a friend, get someone to go with you. If you're not motivated to do it on your own, just find a friend or find someone. If you need to hire a personal trainer, that always works too. Just someone to push you always helps.
And it definitely takes that motivation to another level. Like there are days where you may walk into that gym and you're like, I don't know if I can do this today, but you woke up, you walked there, you walked in the door, and once you're in there, then it's the chance for something to happen.
And a lot of people don't know that. They're going, I don't have this motivation today. And I said, you already came here. So you're already motivated a little bit. Maybe you don't feel like doing all the exercises or the full workout, but the fact that you got up, came here means you're already motivated a little bit. So that's step one, is just getting to somewhere to do the exercises.
And when you break it down step by step, it's not as hard as what we overcomplicate it in our minds.
Exactly. There's a lot of, I mean, once you start, like the clients, when they learn new things, they're going, oh, this is easier than I thought it would be. The form, you know, a lot of times their form is better and they can start feeling the workout, you know, I mean, it always is mixed up, but if you can find the best thing for motivation for you, and even, like I said, if you're doing certain exercises and you're like 1 or 2 more reps, but your friend or whoever is saying, no, 5 more reps, then you're going to push yourself to do that. And so mixing it up is always what I suggest, always.
And if you start to feel that burnout point, then it's like, maybe it's time to mix it up even more. Like,
Absolutely.
maybe if you've been working out 5-6 days a week, lifting heavy, and you're like, I don't know if I can wake up at 5 a.m. to do this. Maybe it's time to switch up the routine, you know, mix it up, maybe run again, maybe spin again, whatever your form of differences or hit, or, you know, just any little thing to mix it up. And then you can get back into what you were doing or keep the change happening.
Right. Right. And that's why I switch up all my workouts for all my clients. And there's some clients that, you know, they work out 3 days a week with me. One day is at the studio doing weights and bands. Another day they're at the pool, and another day they're at the beach. And so every single time, even if I had similar workouts, they're still doing something different. And, you know, when they work out a whole week and then the next time they have to work out, they're like, oh, I got to work out today. Oh, I'm going to the pool. I get to go swimming. I get to do exercise in the pool. So switching it up is what I always suggest.
Especially, I would say this too, especially at times like these when a lot of people here in the States and abroad, I know Costa Rica is a little different because everybody's doing something, whether you're in restaurant or tourism, and you're always interacting with people.
Right.
But this work at home life where it feels like some days are Groundhog Day.
Or this, yeah, same thing all the time.
The same thing all the time, whether you've been waking up doing 5 a.m. workouts and then you come home and you have coffee and then you're like, oh, I got to get started on the day. I've got to do this now. And then I'm going to make something for dinner tonight. And it's probably the same thing that I had 3 days ago. But mixing up the routine is absolutely key, especially for myself. Like if I feel like I'm getting into that route where it's the same old, like
Right.
it's like something's got to change. Otherwise, I just did this yesterday.
Right. And mixing it up, it's good for the body, but it's also good for the mind because you're constantly working the mind, but it's also, once again, it can't really get boring or old for you because if you're constantly switching up, it's something new every time.
So whether you're switching up workouts, whether you're switching up a routine a little bit, I know it's harder for some people when they're working set hours, but just mix up something different. Like do something different today. It'll make a huge difference in the day and that
Absolutely.
outlook.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, if you started mixing up with workouts, all of a sudden you'll see how well that's going to treat you. And then other things, like you were saying throughout the day, whether it's your diet, whatever it is you're doing, you'll start switching up other things during your day to make the days better and more interesting for yourself.
And then since you mentioned diet, let's get into that side of the wellness. What do you recommend for clients, or do you even recommend like eating and specific diets or anything like that? Or is it just more like eat fresh, what's growing around you?
With diets, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish in the end. So the diets can vary with that. Around here, it's kind of easy to, for a simple diet, to be able to explain to a client. If I was in the States, the first thing I would say is try to eat less fast food. Well, there is no fast food here. So that's automatically off the list. There's fruits and vegetables, all sorts of tropical stuff like that. That's fresh right here. There's markets everywhere. There's vegetable and fruit trucks that have organic, everything's organic, and they drive up and down the street, and you just run out and buy cheap vegetables, cheap fruits. Uh, the restaurants here, most of the stuff is pretty healthy. There's a lot of vegan places, but a lot of it's, some of the chicken is organic. So here it's like a lot of the stuff, from what even my friends come down to tell me, it tastes a lot more fresh.
Mhm.
So here, if someone wanted to specifically get into a diet for whether it's weight gaining or weight loss, um, it's easy to put together. And I think it's a little bit easier here to be able to tell people to eat healthy because of just the options that we have and the options that we don't have, like the fast food. There's plenty of ways to mistreat yourself, even if you're here, but it's the diet explanation for my clients has made it easier. The fact that we're here and they're leaving the studio to automatically go to the market to get all the organics, the fruits and vegetables or anything else. And so telling them to do a diet, they don't even know, but they're already doing the healthy thing.
Right. It's like the water bottles in hand. They've already got the papaya. They've already picked up pineapple and whatever vegetables were for sale. And when you eat what's seasonal, I find it treats your body a lot better. And like you said, like cutting out the fast food and some of the simple things that are easily accessible in the States, but it's that decision of like, how am I going to treat my body for the future?
Exactly. And I know that I'm on vacation when I come back to the States, but every time one of us goes back, we gain a little bit of weight. One, because whether we're eating unhealthy or not, I'm not going to say that because we're on vacation. Everybody eats a lot when you're on
Right.
vacation. But down here, you get around a lot on a bicycle. So when you're sitting there pedaling on a bicycle and all of a sudden you go back to the States and you're sitting in a car everywhere you go, that little bit of weight in your waist and everything can quickly add on. So here naturally, since we're just always active, running and walking on the beach, riding bikes everywhere, it kind of keeps you a little bit more fit than you would think.
Yeah. And you never realize it until you've been to a place where you don't have a vehicle. So for me, it happened when I was living in Barcelona. And yes, I was using the metro, but I was walking like consistently at least 3 miles a day, getting back and forth to different areas. And then I would even find myself on nice days like, oh, well, I'll just take a stop before my actual stop and then walk the rest of the way home. Or different elements where you're like, okay, well, yeah, it's just one stop away. So I'm just going to walk there instead of taking the train or the metro or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. There's a lot of clients that leave the studio near the beach, and after their workout, they just go jump in the ocean. So they cool off that way, but they're still walking to the beach. They're swimming around, So a lot of people in the States or in other countries, they drive to the gym in order to get on a stationary bike, but people ride their bike to come see me. So their heart is already warmed up.
Mhm.
So naturally here, a lot of people take care of themselves without even realizing it, in a lot of ways. And then when they want to get better, it's not as hard as you think it is.
And for those of you who are listening to this and you're like, well, I have no other option to get to the gym than to drive. I feel you. Like I'm in the same situation now. Like
Right.
if I walk to the gym, I mean, I could, but like people don't watch out for pedestrians or runners here. So there's a high chance that you're going to be fighting for your life. And then you're also have the same aspect of like, okay, well, now I've got it almost a foot of snow outside. So then go to the gym. But there's aspects that you can do daily as well, like even being at home. Maybe it's standing more, maybe it's walking around, maybe it's taking a 10-minute break later in the day to go for a loop around your neighborhood
Right.
or do some other things and prioritize that time for you to like keep moving and not getting to this mindset of like, oh, I'm home, so I have to stay at home.
Yes. And I have a lot of clients that they work online. So they don't even realize it, but they say, oh, I've been sitting all day. And I said, well, did you work at home? No, I went to the cafe down the street. Oh, how'd you get there? I rode my bike, and then I took a break, went outside, walked around, looked and watched the monkeys for a while. Then went back to work and then rode my bike home. And you might have been sitting for majority of the time, but you still were a little bit more active than you would think to just sit at a desk or a computer all day. And so here it's pretty easy to, I mean, most of the cafes, most of the restaurants are completely open, as you know. So you're already outside. So working at those places, it's easy to, in a good way, it's easy to get distracted. The howler monkeys you can hear from miles away, and the toucans, the macaws, you can hear them passing over, and the you don't even have to look. Someone else will be looking, and we'll say, "Oh,
Right.
look at the animals up here," and "Oh, look at the iguanas over here." So it that's the good thing about here is that it's so outdoors, is that you can get in a good way distracted and kind of not get away from what you're focused on, but kind of mixing it up as we've been talking about.
And not only that, but you're living in an environment that one prioritizes nature and animals, but it also prioritizes the health without you even realizing it because you're not inundated with blue lights. You're getting sunshine most of the day. There's so many healthy aspects to it that most people probably wouldn't even realize. Whereas people in the States are like, well, I'm sitting in my office or in my house all day, and I look out the window, and for me, if I look out the window right now, I see a foot of snow. But I'm actually going to go outside and play in it here in a little bit after we wrap this up. But that's the difference. Like, take that time, prioritize play, prioritize movement in your life, and you'll start to see the effects throughout the rest of your life.
Right. Yes. And people, like I said, people here don't realize, and even no matter where you are, you don't realize certain things you do throughout the day that burn calories, and other simple things you could be doing that doesn't take much, doesn't require much to burn more calories or to get in shape, whichever you're looking for. I have a really close friend who just started training with me about 2 or 3 months ago, and he surfs 6 or 7 mornings a week, at least. And he goes for a couple hours, and he comes into the training and he's like, man, I need to get some workout in. And I go, you just surf for 2 hours. Most people that surf for 2 or 3 hours don't go and do
Right.
a weightlifting workout afterwards. And so I'm able to increase his leg strength and his shoulder strength so he can be a better surfer and be more comfortable, but he's also working muscles that he hasn't worked before. So you get people that are naturally doing physical stuff out here. Even if here when you're a bartender, you're picking up beer crates, you're carrying this, you're carrying that, like the steps that you take at the restaurants here, if you added the steps up. So there's so many things that you're doing along with the fun activities to where you're staying fit. And that is how, it's a lot more here than most places, but that's everywhere.
And if you find yourself where you're like, I'm not doing that, somebody who's listening to this and saying, like, well, I'm not moving around, I don't have a very laborious job, I don't have to lift things, like, find stuff in your daily life that you can do. Whether it's cooking at home more, or some of the things that you don't think of, but when you're cooking, you're moving around the kitchen. When you're and then you're
Gardening and yard
gardening.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, like just small things like shoveling the driveway, playing with your kids. There's numerous aspects, and it goes back to the point of overcomplicating things. Like, don't make it harder than what it really is.
Right. Right. It's depending on what kind of training you're looking for, what kind of shape you're getting into, a lot of it is just right there in front of you. You know, the harder you want to train, the more you need to learn and stuff like that. But there's so much simple stuff you could be doing on your own, and simple stuff that you're already doing that you don't realize. And you can increase the yard work, you can increase the playtime with the kids, you can increase the cooking, or just find something else, an everyday life thing that can keep you busy and keep you active.
Most definitely. Jackson, thank you so much for your insight. As we begin to wrap up here, one of the questions that I always ask at the end of the show is, what's been one of the biggest blessings for you over this past year?
Over the past year. Oh, that's a good one. I'm thinking of a few things. I'm going to give you a good one here. Well, I said it earlier. I've been very blessed to be here this whole time, where no matter what is going on in the rest of the world, the Caribbean is already a more laid back, relaxed vibe. So I've appreciated just how crazy whether no matter what country you've been in or what country you're from, whatever's going on there with politics, with everything like that. I've been very blessed to be here this last year with my wife and with a lot of the friends that we have in this town. Um, Definitely looking forward to going home to the States and visit some family. I haven't been, this August will be 2 years since I've been back to the States. So, I mean, many good things have happened to a lot of people this last year. Many bad things have happened. But for me, just being here in this town and like we discussed earlier, the community here, I mean, people's businesses are failing. We'll figure it out. You know, we'll come support you. Um, we got to donate. We sponsored, I think, about 20 kids from poor families for Christmas gifts. You know, so it's just it feels great to be in a community where everyone is kind of appreciative of each other and everyone supports each other. And so I've been very blessed in the last year to be here. Um, I would have found ways to be happy no matter where I would have been, but very thankful, very grateful to be here with just less drama, I guess you could say.
And I can attest to that just from the short time that I was there. And I know for a fact, like, the community is so powerful there. And, you know, even with the lack of tourism for almost a year, like, you guys are going to rebound. And it's one of those communities, like you said, like, everybody supports each other. And it's going to come back with a resounding, like, it's going to be better than ever.
Yes, and this is usually January through March and April is usually our busy season, and most of the restaurants and everything. I mean, there's people in them every day now, and so the bounce back has, I wouldn't say for most people is a full recovery, but we're getting there. So it's been good to see. It's been good for me to keep busy. I've been thankful that my business is not based off of tourism, so I've been able to stay busy throughout the year. But it's been good to see a lot of the restaurant owners who have been very slow, been fighting this whole year, and now to see a smile on their face, to see a smile on all their workers' faces because they have work, you know, and then they're able to make money and continue to live here and do what they love to do.
Definitely. Jackson, where can we find more information out about you, social media, things like that, so people can connect?
Social media, I have a Caribbean Coastal Fitness page for Facebook and one for myself. And I've just started getting into the whole Instagram thing, been posting a lot of stuff on there. So usually with the updates of training and stuff like that, you're going to catch me on Instagram, JKS Caribbean Coastal Fitness. And hopefully soon I'll be getting a website going.
Awesome. I can't wait. I'll put in the captions, and wherever you're listening or watching this episode from, you can find all of the information on how to connect with Jackson there. Jackson, it's been so much fun connecting with you today,
It's been a
learning
pleasure.
all about what's happening in Costa Rica and in your world of personal training. It's been a blast. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Very appreciative of having me. Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Yes, definitely. And for all of you guys who are listening, I'm going to leave you with this thought today. Do something today that is different, outside your norm. Move a little bit more. If it's given you any inspiration to start working out, go for it. You won't be sorry, and your future self will thank you for it. So that is a wrap on today's episode of Coffee with Bobbi and Jackson Smith. Have an amazing day.